Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Check out this amazing video of what looks like a creature of an unknown origin. This image and video was captured in El Paso, Texas. A woman was sitting on her couch at 3:45 in the morning and suddenly received a notification on her cell phone. It was her security camera advising her that there was something outside of her home. She immediately checked the photos and video of this creature on her phone and noticed that it looked like something unrecognizable. She didn't understand what she was looking at, so she sent the footage to a couple of UFO channels on social media, and now the internet and social media itself is going crazy about this photo and video. This creature is going viral all over TikTok, all over social media, and no one knows what it is. Whatever it is, it looks like a mixture of ET
So that thing doesn't look like anything that I've heard described as what an alien looks like. Looks like a Halloween mask, and we could probably do a reverse image search on it and find somewhere that it's being sold online, unless somebody made this at home who's really skilled. But yeah, I'm gonna say that's a Halloween mask.
There is a monster lurking in Mongolia. This is the Mongolian death worm, and according to legend, this creature is said to exist in the far reaches of the Gobi Desert. In 1926, paleontologist Roy Chapman Andrews was in Mongolia when he heard many secondhand accounts from locals warning of the death worm. It's said to mainly live underground, but will surface to hunt. It's been described as being dark red in color, having a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, is anywhere from 2 to 7 feet long, and it is to be avoided at all costs. The death worm is said to have the ability to spit venom at its prey, mainly livestock and humans, which is corrosive enough to burn through metal. And it's been reported to have the ability to electrocute its victims from a distance as well. In fact, one of Mongolia's former prime ministers was once quoted as saying that its skin is so poisonous that merely touching it means you're done for. Now, legends of this cryptid actually inspired stories like Dune and Tremors. And although many explorers have gone to the Gobi Desert to prove its existence, no proof exists just yet. If it is real, some think that it could be something like a misidentified worm lizard or sand boa. But what do you think? Make sure to leave a comment and let me know what cryptid you want to hear about next.
So I thought this was interesting because I've never heard of this Mongolian worm thing before. Like, it's considered to be a real thing. Like, they believe it so much so that even their prime minister is addressing it to the public. You never hear of like a president talking about Bigfoot. So I thought that was pretty cool. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and you like this kind of content, I make a new one just like it every day, Monday through Friday. It will be awesome if you'd hit that subscribe button and come back tomorrow to join me.
Have you guys seen the crazy statue at the Denver airport called Lucifer? I mean, Blucifer? What about the crazy murals painted on the wall like this one and this one? Well, I am just being blasted with downloads lately, and I found a connection between those paintings and the Denver airport and this demon face post I made. And if you don't know what this is, well, I made a post the other day talking about this condition that they were talking about on the news. Victor Shera? Well, when he sees people, their faces look like demons. And in my opinion, they're just doing that. So when we can see through the veil, we go, oh my gosh, I have that condition. You don't have that condition. You can just see what's actually happening. But back to the point, his name matched up to something big. That's right, that guy's name literally matched up to this in the Gematria code. Now look at what I found in these murals. Now at first glance you might look at this and just think it's a creepy looking thing with these kids around a fire. But I have a keen eye, and I noticed that. Can you see what it is yet? How about now? That's a floating city. The floating city that just happens to be talked about in Revelation of the Bible, in the coming back of Jesus Christ. And this Blucifer statue too, if you're not familiar with the Bible, it's also talked about in Revelation. Because the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are again talked about with the coming back of Jesus Christ. And not only do they have all of that, but they also have a mural where the sun and the moon are in alignment, meaning a solar eclipse. Now here's what I want to say about this, the most important part. Because I truly believe we are living in a time past tribulation of the Bible, past the part of Revelation that they're going to try to make us believe is happening. They have capabilities of technology like you would never imagine. So what I'm saying is just use discernment. As the days lead up to the eclipse, have discernment ready. You can best do that by ridding yourself of toxins, by doing some fasting where your body isn't trying to process anything and where you can be functioning on a higher level mentally and spiritually. It's time to start getting ready for something big. Now, I'm not saying that the return couldn't happen, but I just want people to have awareness and have discernment and to not be fooled by something evil and something nefarious. So do your absolute best to get your thinking caps and your spiritual caps on and ready, because I think we're heading into some interesting times. But as always, guys, this is just for entertainment. I'm sure this horse is just fun and decorative. I'm just a satire count. Don't take anything I say seriously.
So I've actually heard this theory before that the rapture has already taken place and that we're living in the end times, and that's why all of these things seem to be pointing toward Revelations, is because we're actually living in it. I haven't seen any evidence to prove to me that that's taking place, but just for clarity's sake, I also am not a believer in the Bible. So that could be swaying me. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. Just because I don't believe doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of people out there that do believe and seem to be actively fighting on the wrong side of things. We were just talking about in yesterday's video how they had that hotel with the underground bunker that shut down pretty much the same time that they opened up the Denver airport. So we know there's some nefarious things going on there. That's where they hold their secret meetings and discuss how to manipulate the masses. But I do like this guy's idea about the demon face syndrome, that it's just them trying to get out ahead of people waking up and seeing reality for the first time. In regards to the gematria stuff that he's talking about, I don't know anything about gematria.
Stop listening to music. It's bad because it reprograms your subconscious mind by putting you in a hypnotic state. You want to dance or do something when you listen to music because it puts you in hypnosis. You remember the lyrics so vividly because it rewrites your subconscious mind. Every word they are saying in the song is molding and shaping your mind in some form or way. Why do you think you want to hurt someone when you listen to drill music, or want to dance hard when you listen to techno? You listen to music you literally cannot think because it's putting you in hypnosis. Spotify and Apple Music are all tuned to 440 Hz, which shuts down the right hemisphere of your brain because they do not want you thinking creatively or intuitionally. Music creates thought loops within your mind. This is why you feel nostalgia when you listen to an old song you used to listen when you were a child. The repetitive music and beats creates thought loops in your mind. In nature, nothing is repeating, everything is constantly transforming. It's the same with your mind. Your mind should be constantly transforming to bigger and better things. Listen to music in 432 Hz or 528 Hz and make sure it has no demonic lyrics and no repetitive choruses.
That pretty much just leaves classical music, doesn't it? I've actually got this guy's book and just smacked myself in the face with it. So I've actually got this guy's book. It kind of seems like a blueprint for deep digging. When I first got the book, I was pretty disappointed. For one thing, it cost like $60 plus shipping and handling. Then whenever I got it and first opened it and started looking at it and trying to read through it, it seemed like, all right, this is just a bunch of incoherent nonsense crammed into pages with pretty pictures. But I've since gone through it a couple more times after watching some of this guy's videos, and I think you just need someone to hold your hand as you go through it. But I've since changed my mind about whether or not this is a good book. So I'm actually going to leave a link to this book in the description of this video, because I've been asked by several people where to find this book. While it's not something you're going to pick up and just read right through and be like, oh, I've got some new information, I feel like it's essentially a guide to point you in the right direction to start digging deeper on certain topics. It will give you the ideas to start researching things. It will give you the ideas of what to research to start figuring out what the truth is on a lot of different topics. So for that reason, I feel like it's worth promoting.
We hyper focus on the things we can see and the physical, and we completely cut out the unseen. And that has a lot of implications for a society and an individual, wouldn't you say?
One of our most telling modern vices, that we don't think anything is real unless it is literally so. We lay enormous store by facts, but there's more to life than facts. Earlier cultures, their worldview was primarily metaphoric, or rather, I would say that their worldview was embedded in a vision that preceded the division of the metaphorical from the literal. That it's only in modern times have we distinguished between metaphorical and literal. So, for example, the literal worldview thinks that myths are untrue. They think they're fairy stories, whereas, of course, for traditional cultures, myths are the true story. They absolutely point to the reality of the human condition. But at the same time, I'm not sure that any traditional culture takes them literally in the way that we suppose that they did. Even in ancient Greeks, the gods were understood not in a literal way. They were understood as real as images, but not necessarily literally real. It's a very, very hard distinction for us to make because we are so literal-minded. So it's easy for us to dismiss all the products of the imagination as if they were mere fiction.
So the idea of focusing on the spiritual instead of the physical, I think it's pretty obvious why our society is that way now. It's because we are a consumer society and everything boils down to what can I get my hands on or what are my capabilities as far as getting objects. Everything is about getting objects, getting a new car, getting that nice house, getting new clothes, that nice fancy new purse. Everything is about material possessions. No one focuses anymore on spiritual growth. And I've fallen into that trap myself. I absolutely used to be one of the people that were just trying to keep up with the Joneses. It took a lot of deep self-reflection, tremendous adjustment on my part to change that aspect of myself and stop being a consumer, but start trying to focus more on the spiritual side of things instead of the physical side of things. And I think that it's pretty obvious that that's what's going on, and that's why we are the way that we are nowadays. I mean, you look at other cultures and stuff that don't have the consumer goods that we have, and they seem to have more of a spiritual connection.
From docking off from the Eiffel Tower to fishing via airship in a lake in California. One of the main reasons I believe they got rid of these, having a personal flying craft, a vessel of personal exploration, where the possibilities and locations are limitless. That's something the parasites could not keep around. Cutting out the airships hindered not only our freedoms, it also solidified our dependency on oil for the next century, and setting up a narrative of how these fossil fuels are so limited. And with everything running on it, they had to charge a premium, as well as setting up realm-wide wars for the next century, fighting over the perceived precious limited resource of oil. Many ask with these airship photos why they never seen them before. In short, blame our history that we're taught, as I said in my previous video, leaving out all the good parts to keep it as boring and mundane as possible. And also, most have never even thought to look for them. I have, including schematics, like these mooring stations, and if you look to the left there, that's how they unloaded the passengers in these towers. Here's some schematics on them. They're real complex buildings for the time, we're told. These mooring stations were built on top of skyscrapers, equipped with elevators and stairs. That was the beauty of them over airports. They could be built anywhere, even on ships. They would have been a sight to see. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
So my theory on why we've lost these blimps and airships and no longer have them everywhere anymore is simply that they're trying to hide from us the technology that was used to fuel these things. That's what I think. I don't think that they necessarily are trying to keep us from self-exploration, because you can go out and get a paramotor and strap that thing to your back and start flying around for like $5,000 all in. It's not very expensive. And I don't think that in some states you even have to have a license to fly that thing. So I don't think that it comes down to them trying to keep us from exploring on our own. I think it's simply a matter of that technology that was being used publicly out in the open. They don't want us to know how it works, and so they needed to do away with it so that they could promote more fossil fuel use.
Petrification. Truth is stranger than fiction. Declassified CIA document talking about soldiers being petrified instantly by alien spacecrafts. This is the craziest story I've ever heard. There were these Russian soldiers fighting this alien spacecraft, and all of a sudden, beams of light, and they get turned into stone instantly. Then they got taken to this secret hangar. This is a verifiable story. I have the CIA documentation to prove it. What do you think happened here with this petrification? This is an actual petrified human foot that was found inside of a cowboy boot, where you can actually see the bone marrow, CT scans and all. This is a freaking foot, and this boot isn't even that old. The company that made these boots started in 1871, but this specific boot is only 1950s. Then of course, giant petrified trees. Those aren't petrified trees, those are mountains. Oh yeah? Well, what are the rings then? So I'm sure that's just a sculpture. Do you think it was really aliens, or do you think it's more of a spiritual thing? And do you believe this thing was really carved by hand? Look at the intricate details, and look how these kind of look like stalactites. Here's the document again if you want to just pause and read.
I know that this was released from CIA documents that were unredacted, but I don't believe this story. I don't think this is true. I think this is probably a case of the CIA releasing documents to give us something to focus our attention on that makes it feel like we've discovered something that we shouldn't know about. I think a lot of the CIA document dumps are probably similar to that. We all know that it's legal for our politicians and for the media to lie to us. So why wouldn't the CIA, who has a narrative to push, release some documents like this just to stir the pot and stir up the conspiracy theorists? That's what I think's going on with this particular document. But what I found really, really cool about this video is I've seen the photo of the petrified foot in the boot before, but I didn't know that that boot came out in like 1951. You look at that, and then you look at all these proposed petrified remains of giants that look like mountains where someone's body just laid over and then turned to stone. It kind of makes that look a little bit more believable. If one man's foot can become petrified in 50 years, then why couldn't a giant have turned into stone over the course of thousands or millions of years?
All things exist here in the consciousness platform first, before it exists in the third dimension. This remote control for the TV existed in somebody's multidimensional platform as a thought. And we know that the mind connects up to 11 dimensions according to the Brain Institute. So it's in a multidimensional state. It doesn't exist in a physical form until the person that's thinking about this thing says, now I have an idea of what I want this to be. I'm going to collapse it from multi-dimensions into 2 dimensions. How does he do that, or she does that? Puts it into a piece of paper, pen to paper, and draws it out, or puts it into a computer. It's called computer assisted design. That's a CAD design program. Now it's in 2D. It looks 3D, but it's only 2D. So you took up to 11 dimensions and collapsed it into 2 dimensions. Now that it's in 2 dimensions, you can tweak the final things about it. You hand that data, that blueprint, over to an engineer. The engineer takes the blueprint, he takes it into a shop, and then he stacks atoms in a format that create the item, the thing, in the third dimension that you can move around on the XYZ axis. I can move this on an XYZ axis now because it's a physical form. Somebody, an engineer, took the blueprint and stacked atoms in a particular way, like Legos, that created this into third dimensional reality.
I like the way he explains that it was just stacking atoms, because that's essentially what you do to create anything, is you're just stacking the right number and the right type of atoms in any one given space. That's just I've never really thought about it like that. I just thought that was interesting.
Did you know that Australia has its own version of Bigfoot? And it's called the Yowie. This hairy humanoid is said to have large fangs, talon-like claws, stands up to 9 feet tall, is covered in reddish fur, and is much more aggressive than its North American counterpart. Stories of these creatures can be found in Aboriginal mythology, which says that they were a spirit that roams over the earth at night. Modern reports began in the 1850s when the Australian Town & Country Journal began to publish witness testimony of indigenous apes being seen all around Australia. And sightings of the Yowie continue to this day. The Australian Yowie Research Group may have even caught thermal footage of these creatures. Some think this cryptid might be an offshoot of the extinct ape species Gigantopithecus, or an undiscovered humanoid marsupial. If you're from Australia, have you seen the Yowie? Let me know in the comments.
If I had to guess of a Bigfoot creature being anywhere, I would guess that it would be in Australia. There's so much wilderness and there's so much that could kill you in the Australian outback. I'd put money on it that if Bigfoot exists, there's one roaming around in Australia.
Because look at that Masonic temple. You see that? The Masonic symbol? Are you flipping kidding me? Look at this, Masonic, and gosh darn it, we may not be going much further, but what the heck is this? That is completely obnoxious. Oh, shit. And inside is this deep Masonic.
What the hell? Yeah, right. Areas. This is extremely deep water. No. No way. It's gone.
This is interesting because it seems like this cave is out in the middle of nowhere, just out in a desert or something, and this guy stumbled upon it. It doesn't look like he's next to some road or something where there's easy access to get to the location. Of course, he doesn't show any of this, so this is all just me speculating, but that is the appearance that it has, like it's out in the middle of nowhere. And there's just a gate with a bunch of Freemason symbols on it. This makes me wonder how many other locations are there like this, and what are they using that for? That's pretty obvious to me. This is a meetup location where they can be certain that no one's going in there and recording anything. They can check you to make sure you're not wearing a wire or have a phone or a device on you to record anything whenever you enter the cave. And even if you do get in there, you're not going to live stream anything because you're under all this rock. So that's what I think it is. It's just a really secure place for them to meet up, where they can make sure that whatever they're talking about doesn't leave the cave.
This is called Newsbenders from 1968. This wasn't made by a bunch of truthers. This is BBC. Told you this.
You're going to make this happen?
No. We're going to make models. Much cheaper. Then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels?
That's fake newsreels. For the past 10 years, people have been looking at our fake newsreels and listening to our fake commentaries.
And they accept it for the truth. And you can do it. Stop 100 people in the street. How many of them have actually seen a missile or a satellite? They're just told they exist and they believe it.
Yes, you're getting there. I knew you would. You didn't really believe there were all these things whizzing about up there, did you? Sputniks and rockets? Astronauts crossing their legs for 8 days.
How long has this been going on?
Since Hiroshima.
And the H-bomb, you mean, that doesn't work either?
Right. Dirty.
Very, very dirty.
What was your first reaction? Relief. Oh, yes. Yes, it has to be relief.
You say you can put out what pictures you like on television. Doesn't anybody try to stop you?
No, nobody wants to. 99.386% of the population wouldn't believe this conversation. And the rest are working for us. They're the top minds, the really responsible people. Scare an ostrich, buries its head in the sand. You scare a hedgehog, it rolls itself up into a ball. When a woman's frightened, she goes out and buys herself a hat.
You mean you scare us so that we'll buy more, so that money moves quicker, production moves up?
We don't say scare when we talk about human beings. We say threaten them emotionally. And there are all sorts of ways of doing it, not just the big ones like the hydrogen bomb. Overcrowd them a little with bad planning. Sell them too many motor cars. Anything to keep them a little bit removed from reality. Nowadays, people don't work for money. They work for the idea of money. They don't even love for love. They love for the idea of love. They only hate for the idea of hate. It took us 5 years to find a non-addictive D gave them nice little hallucinations. Made them talk like 3-year-olds. Throw flowers at policemen. Politicians are easy to control. The grosser mentality boys who like to be photographed getting in and out of Daimlers in Whitehall. They come right at the bottom of our organization. A few rungs up the ladder, there are the people in the top secret factories. Just those in a position to know they're making weapons that don't really work.
There's come a time when somebody wants to use one of those weapons. I mean, somebody is standing there with a finger on the button.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Nobody presses the button.
If you think that the nukes that were shown in these test videos and stuff of these houses being evaporated are real, think about this. What happened to the camera? How did the camera just stay on its tripod or on its mount and not shake or get obliterated along with the house? How did the film survive the radiation from the blast? There's so much that we've been lied to about. I almost can't believe anything that I see in the media. That's one of the reasons that I love digging through this stuff. Is I'm not the type of person that likes to have the wool pulled over my eyes, much like you. Everyone is that way. Everyone likes to know that they really know what's going on around them. Everyone likes to have that. I kind of think of it as a security blanket of information, of knowledge, of knowing what your world really is. You need to know what your environment truly is in order to function in it properly. And if you're being lied to about what reality is, how are you supposed to move and manipulate your reality to best serve you?
If you're neurodivergent like me, you may have struggled with meditation. I have the video for you. So the most popular form of meditation in the West is mindfulness meditation, where you'll focus on the breathing. If you have thoughts that enter, you push them away and you return to your breath. The thing is, people with like ADHD, people that are neurodivergent, they struggle with this because they often get bored. The misconception is that you're bored because you're easily distracted. You are not easily distracted. You are hypersensitive. This hypersensitivity leads you to be hyper aware of your surroundings, what's going on. And this is why distractions happen. If you hear a little sound or if something's happening, it's going to pull your attention. But this is a superpower. And when paired with the right meditation technique, it actually is a massive benefit. You hear about these monks that are meditating in caves for 20 years. They are not doing mindfulness meditation, focusing on their breath. A lot of that time is spent exploring the internal universe. Okay, what does that mean? Well, just like the universe, our physical universe is infinitely expansive, always expanding. Your internal universe is infinite. So this morning, I woke up with some feelings of inadequacy and a lack of confidence. I like to meditate in the morning, so I grabbed my buckwheat pillow. You can't really see it, but I sit on the edge. It just helps me keep this upright posture. I did a 10-minute breath work to calm down the nervous system, to prepare the body to get into that meditative state. I also tape my mouth when I do meditation. First and foremost, it's to promote nasal breathing, but it's also because it's become a part of my ritual, if you will. I always recommend doing the same things before you meditate so that your body is prepared to get into that meditative state, but also it recognizes the signs that, hey, we're about to meditate. Finally, it was time to meditate. So I sit down and I start exploring the universe of the feelings that I'm having. Why am I feeling a lack of confidence? What is this uneasiness? And I sit with those feelings and I think, what is the source? What is causing me to feel this way? When I find the cause, then I explore, well, why is that causing me to feel a certain way? What is it about that cause? You go deeper and deeper and deeper. You will never find the bottom of this pit. You can explore, well, why do you have these feelings if they don't benefit you? Or do they possibly benefit you? I'll do it after I have a fight with my partner. What is it that she said that triggered me? Why did it trigger me? What is the source of that trigger? What has happened in the past that is a similar situation that I might be projecting? Why were those things in the past so powerful that they make me act a certain way today? You use your hyper-focus, your attention. You pull every little thread, every little thought, and you follow it. And it is insane. It is insane because the benefits I have seen from this, the amounts of knowledge I have attained about myself, who I am as a person, overcoming certain things, it has all come from this technique. People think meditation is just emptying your mind, and that's not real meditation. Meditation is letting go of all expectations of what you're about to experience and just going with it. When you explore your internal universe, you are literally following and tracing every thought and emotion, and it is near endless.
And whether focusing your mind on the breath or focusing your mind on every thread that you want to pull about who you are, how you act, why you act a certain way, both are actively focusing your mind. But your internal universe doesn't just include your thoughts and your emotions. It also includes like actively feeling things within your body. The science behind chanting Om is insane, and I'm going to do a standalone video on that. But a really cool meditation with exploring the internal universe is doing Om chanting and focusing on the internal vibrations that you will feel, how they change, where they generate from. I'm doing that in the next video. It's really cool.
So I just wanted to put this in here because we were talking about meditation in yesterday's video, and until I came across this, the idea of sitting there and focusing on your thoughts and focusing on your breathing and stuff like this, the mindfulness meditation that he's talking about, I thought that that was what meditation was. I thought that that was all there was to it. And so that's the type of meditation that I've been trying and failing at miserably. So I thought this was interesting, and I wanted to put it in here so that if there's anyone else out there who has that same misconception about this particular topic, that they'll also now have a better understanding of it and can hopefully break through to the other side when meditating. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and leave the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video, just like I always am. I hope everybody comes back to join me. I hope everybody has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.